They're going to do the same thing. The NIA, we managed to achieve something for it, because now they are not doing their work, but at least they are not going out there to abuse us. We did our work there to stop that. But now the police are representing them for doing that, doing the arrest, doing the false charges, doing anything else with cases. We have not achieved nothing. Is it sustainable? Why are we not doing something about it? No. This is where the differences are. Now, when we look at it, again, and as I said, the case of, you said, just to give you an example, that most humans are opportunists, especially those in high office. Because, especially in Africa as well, and even here, most politicians are just opportunists. That's why it's hard to see a good politician. And most good politicians are not successful politicians. Because the systems that operate around society, those empower, greedy people or go with people who are ruthless. But when we look at the case of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom and the way they sustain Boris Johnson, knowing who Boris Johnson is, everything else, what they were doing at the time were looking their personal interests. Interest in what? Boris Johnson managed to have a good PR and everything now. He is winning elections. He got a likability effect. They all know that he's disorganized. He's not an organized person. They know that he's a liar. They know that he's indisciplined. He doesn't have morals or anything else. But hence he's winning elections, and we want to win elections to be in government. We have to live in there. It continues. And until now, they realize that it's gone so far that they have lost two by-elections, and since the popularity rating is just dipped, and Labour have got a better leader that is appealing to the people, and Labour is coming to likely win. These are the motivations. But at least they know how to look after their interests. But in our case, no. We follow dictators. Look at Senegal. People are still, senior ministers are following Macky Sall to destruction. But again, that's where the difference is. Senegal, they have institutions which are far more robust than us, Gambia and Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry and other countries. That's why we can easily fall into trouble than Senegal. Not only the institutions as within the government, but civil society. They have a robust civil society, and part of that is their religious leaders. Part of that is their religious leaders, be the Christian Catholics, Anglicans, be the Murids, the Tijanias, and everything else. All this leadership do come in handy when things get to a level and draw things back. We don't have that. We don't have those sort of religious leaders. All they know is to bicker around each other and run after anybody who becomes a leader in the country as a president or a political party that has influence. They follow you to get the crumbs. But they don't tell truth to power. Or they don't have that leverage that within behind the scenes. In most cases, you will not hear the Khalifa General say certain things, but behind the scenes, they can lift the phone to the president and say, draw back, and he will draw back. If it can get to a level, Senegalese would have a confidence that it will get. Yeah, it does get nasty, but to sustainability, they will make sure it works. We don't have that. Another thing they have an intelligence here. They have sophisticated elites that will look after their interests. Realize that, look, this is not sustainable. We have to do something, and they go against. This is why Wada lost the elections, because of the intelligence here. Elites went against Wada to say, no, we are not going to accept. Yes, you manipulated everything. People went out to demonstrate, and you managed to suppress that. Now you're going to attack them. Now we are going to vote. And so that we vote you out, you cannot sustain, because this is not sustainable. The elites have to be different. What do we have in Gambia? They are quick to criticize you that, oh, you're not writing good English. Criticize you, oh, you're not doing this. But where are they? When you need them, where are they? They can sit down in corners to criticize politicians, but where are they? Where are they when you want solutions? Because we know the poor elites of technocrats we have in our country. We have one of the worst technocrats in Africa right now, because they are just used to the Yajame thing. Just go in there, get into projects, to get what you can get and get out. That's why nothing works in the country. Everything got failed. They cannot draw a concept from and to deliver. They have not. Anything that delivered there is a grant that comes straight away, and they implemented them. So just like the Chinese said, we are going to build a road, the Chinese come and build a road. But to say the Gambia government draw a proposal and go through all the mechanisms and to do the classifications, do the bidding, get the contractors on board and get it delivered, get the supervision done and make sure everything's done. No. Because of corruption and incompetence will not allow it, and politicization will not allow it. Now, this is the reason we don't have the elites that is needed. They would be sitting, thinking that, oh, I am okay, I can manage. Let petrol go to this, I can manage. Let food go to this, I can manage. Let public schools be bankrupt, I can send my kids to private schools. Let public hospital bankrupt, I can go to Medicare, and I can do this, I can do this. I can go to Senegal, I can go to you. Let the university not be equipped, I don't care. My sons and daughters will be going to America. This is what they do. Oh, I am just here for now. I will look for international appointment. If I have the international appointment, I can afford money. That's what they do. And the average person would be. But it's not enough. It's not enough. This is why we run into trouble. It's not that we are different from white people or anything. No, at the certain aspect of us. You come to a certain level. You see the same people that you see can vote for anything. There are Europeans here that will vote because of hate. Just as they vote because of ignorance. Everything happens. But what we have is competing forces. People, citizens participate to make this difference. But do we have that? No. This is what we have in Senegal. This is what we have in Ghana. That's why it's growing. You don't have it in Nigeria. And I will come next to do a program, continuity of this, on a program on how safe we are. We do that. But as I said, it's brief. I'm going to try to limit it to this. This is what makes us different. And we think of the lessons that we can learn. We humans are all the same species. Whatever makes a country or circumstance different will be based on how we organize ourselves in developing our mutual interest for the greater good of our people and nation. Look, people keep on saying, oh, why is this anomaly? Gambians outside of Gambia are all successful. I mean, so many Gambians outside of Gambia are successful. Put it that way. Be it international community, go to any international organizations, you find successful Gambians. Not at the bottom level, in the top, middle, and the bottom level. Technocrats at different sides. You go to the international institution, professional institutions. When there was a COVID vaccine found, we found Gambians part of the teams. Not only a Gambians part of the team. When Europe was fighting, bringing measures for the pandemic, Gambians were part of these things. Anything, when the economic crash, we found Gambians at the IMF. We found Gambians at World Bank. We found Gambians at the senior level of the UN. And if you look at it, population size, as we are witnessing in developed democratic nations, just as examples and lessons these are the lessons we have to learn from this. We have to make sure it's not based on individuals. It's based on systems, and accountability have to occur. Freedoms have to be protected, and the opposition have to be robust in order for this to work. In America, we have seen when they supported Biden, because they realized that Biden was going to be their unifier, they could not have supported the left Bernie, because Bernie is so on the left. They want to bring something that middle America can support, and the amount of people that came and voted for the Democrats was unprecedented. Even though, because of the rhetoric and the policies, racial policies, far-right policies of Trump, so many came out. But the greater good of America came out on the Democrats. People that had never voted Democrats came out and voted Democrats. Not because of they wanted Biden, because of they wanted to get out Trump. But again, when it comes to Trump wanting to be a dictatorship, the people around him, within, would not even allow it. Yes, he has buffoons out there to try to do it for him. But people around him said, no, I'll be prosecuted. That was the first thing that came to their mind. I'll be prosecuted before even thinking, oh, this might be a constitutional crisis, might do this. Because the people, they went to seek legal opinion and said, no, if you do this, you will be prosecuted. If you do this, the consequences are grave. That's why we need conscious people to be in politics, and we have to understand the importance of accountability. Just as, again, in the United Kingdom, when it comes to the crunch, they had to do something before it's too late. Before it's too late. Again, this is another lesson to learn. That's why United Kingdom, we don't need the 2-term limits. Our democracy is mature to a level that we know that whenever there's a need to change a prime minister, the prime minister will be changed. We have changed in the last decade, 10 years, we have changed three prime ministers without going to elections. By using this, you don't have to go to elections only to change your leader. No. Not only elections. That's why the members of parliament have role to play, and the civil society have role to play, the people, political parties have a role to play. These are things that we need to learn and understand the importance of transparency, importance of accountability, and for it not to happen again. And as again, we will talk about the situation of Africa right now. I think there's a program that needed to show how vulnerable we are, that our democracy is going to falter and what's going to happen to us. And likely, we countries are going to be affected. And Gambia is highly likely. And the other bit is about, again, our failures. Why all these hardships? We cannot let these people turn around to say, oh, because of Ukraine and everything else. And this is not only for Gambia, that's for Africa. It's a shame. And our conversations cannot only be with Gambians. We have to speak to our other, this is that something needs to change. This is a shame. That because of a European country went to war, we are going to starve. We cannot produce grains. We cannot produce seeds that will be turned to oil. And we have everything. These are things that we need to talk about, and we need to educate each other. We need these dialogues for us to understand. Again, we are going to give examples. And this example, let me do that before just kicking off. And give people the examples of Sri Lanka. I said this a few times on my program. Sri Lanka. You see, Sri Lanka went through the same thing. Sri Lanka is one of those countries in the Asia, South Asia Pacific, you call them or whatever, that did not have robust institutions just like India have, just like even Thailand has, that and other countries have. They are just having an economy run as we are in the Gambia. And the party, the people that always lead the country are based on nepotism and based on the tribe, the Singhalese. Technically all their leaders been Singhalese. And the opposition is one major opposition party, Singhalese, let's say there are two major parties, Singhalese, and one part, there are many other parties, but another major opposition party, which is Tamil. And we all know that, which is on tribal angles. And there was a civil war, and they massacred the Tamils, and Tamils too did very wrong things. They blow up cities, they blow up trains, and kill a lot of people. But those things. Now they went to the politics. You see, when you guys and people are divided, these elites divided them and keep on just taking, corrupt and taking everything else. And the development they have was go China, become China, build an airport, China build a seaport, China build this, China build that, China build roads. The economy, there's no policy. Building roads and airports is easy.
Get them, you have loans and they bail it. Get to, IMF, they bail you out. That's easy. What's the work? The work is here to build policies that resonate, that needed to develop. And development is two main factors. Produce, to feed your people, and surplus to export. And what build a value chain? To manufacture your basic necessities. Necessities, basic. But Africa today, cotton bud have to be imported. Toothpick have to be imported. Almost everything have to be, toothpaste have to be imported. Toothbrush have to be imported. How do we develop? Grains we don't have. There's no food we have to import. Cattle, meat, red meat we have to import. Everything we have to import. Poultry we have to import. This is the same thing situation they had in their country. Now, this tribal politics went on. The singleists, but at the end of the day, when the suffering comes, the entire country suffers. Major 95%, 98% of the country suffers. And there's no difference between the Hindu, the Buddhist, or the Muslim, or the Christians. Because there's no market selling to these people. They all go to the same market, same school, same hospital, same tax pay. There's no separate tax for Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, and Muslims. There's no market for singleists. There's no market for Hindi. There's no market for Tamil. There's no market for anything else. It's the same markets and hospitals and everything else they have to use. Now, it hit up. They cannot pay their debts. The inflation hit. Price rises going up. The demonstration was not, in fact, the opposition led. It came from the people. The people, most of who are supporting, or who were supported, or who voted for that government. And that's where they ended, overthrowing their government. People who supported, people who might have voted for that government have ended up leading, and obviously the Tamils joined in and others. If the Tamils have led, it would have seen as opposition leading. That's why we need to know to hold things accountability and to have systems that in control. Thank you very much, guys. Again, I will be using the new channel, and it will be level of the UN. And if you look at it, population size, Gambians are overrepresented in all these major institutions, organizations. All this. If you go to the private sector in America, private sector in the United Kingdom, private sector in Scandinavia, in Africa itself, the African diaspora in Africa itself, Gambians are doing fantastic. How comes the country is as it is? Circumstances will not change if the people who are to change it are not actively changing it. I keep on saying this, look, the people doing bad are minority. I mean actively are minority. But the people who are not doing anything to challenge it are in the majority, and they are then part of the people doing bad. So-called passive is no passive. These are, we don't call it passive because we are conscious, because of they think that they are not affected, they are not doing something, because they're just stupid. Because they are affected and they will be affected. They will sit down to cry about crime. When you have to build your houses to protect everything. And you still are not safe, because you go out, they can jump on you. Your daughter go out, they can be jump on. Your sons go out, you can jump on. Your mom, your wife go out, they can be jump on. You cannot protect them everywhere. You cannot buy hire bodyguards to take them everywhere. Or they might be just, the roads are not safe. How can you pay for, what road makes you, it's not sustainable thinking that you are immune because you can afford some of the things that you need to do. You cannot. Then you shouldn't be passive. Now, what happens here is, again, as we said, is what we do in order to create a better listen. The plan to organize the development has to be led by people who are elected and those appointed to deliver the mandate for the people. We cannot expect to elect poor leaders and expect to have a good outcome. Because the elected leaders are the people that are responsible and appointments. Barrow is responsible appointing his cabinet. Nobody else. Nobody else. Now, imagine if you appoint a bad cabinet, what do you expect to have underneath that cabinet? The vice president came and made statements, but find out now it's just hot air. It's just hot air. Politicians have 3 months. We are going to give him that 3 months, but already the indications are it's just hot air. Because himself, he's not performing better. To say that these things, we are not seeing the frameworks. I mean, by the time he made the statements, we could have seen some green shoots by now, or kind of measures been pronounced. I mean, and frameworks been put out. No, it was just mere hot air, nothing else. And these are the people we refer to as the elites of our society, coming from the public, the private sector and the civil society. If these elites are not conscious of the vital role they they need to play for us to build a cohesive community, to develop a sustainable nation, as we witness with Boris Johnson and the conservative hypocrites, we will continue to live underdeveloped and unstable. These people that we term elites, elites should not be a bad term. We should just understand it. When you become an elite, should inform the system. You see, that's why I said countries like Senegal and now Ghana have developed that. We all remember Ghana came out from a dictatorship. How many coups d'etats? More than us. But they finally had the stability from the transition from Rawlings. Now they have built an intelligentsia that will resist. That's why we keep on seeing the changes of government. Even, yes, this government is likely to have 2 terms. They had 2 terms before. This party in government now, the NPP in government in Ghana, had 2 terms before with Kafo, but the NDC, I think the NDC they call. I mean, won elections again, and they might win the second term. I mean, they won the second term, but now the 2 terms, nobody is even talking about that he is trying to stay, because he is not stupid to stay, because the intelligentsia of the people would not allow it, of the elites would not allow it, within the party in fact would not allow it. It starts within your party would not allow some of this nonsense, because it's not sustainable, it's not good for the party, it's not good for the... They think of themselves first, just as the hypocrites of the conservative. They only did this because they finally know that if they didn't take Boris now and get a better leader, what will happen to them? They will lose elections. And obviously, they factor the other things, that this guy cannot be trusted for saying anything. And they know that there's more lies that he have covered which are coming. Again, why did we find out all this lie and everything else? Because of the opposition is proactive. We need an opposition that is proactive, not opposition on elections or opposition that goes to politics in order to maintain the status quo. We need an opposition that can convince a majority to come out and back them. Not a politics of looking to one person, politics of just looking within yourself. Broaden your base. Based on policy, based on representations, so that people can see themselves. What Sonko is doing now, I don't like keep on referring to this as if Sonko is a magician or super. No, it's a common sense that opposition should know. You have to be competent to hold the government accountable and know how to galvanize. That's why he's galvanizing support. With all the bribery going on with the police of Senegal, every dirty game playing up, they are there. Why people want to come and stand and fight with him? Because he positioned himself well. But, as we said, we will learn the lesson again, that we will continue to, that we will need to build an environment that democracy and of democratic and protect the fundamental rights and freedoms of the people. to allow us to build robust systems that creates an open society with a vibrant opposition which support transparency and accountability, good governance, as we are witnessing in developed democratic nations. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, listeners. It's me, Sulayman Ben Suwareh, coming back on Facebook Live on the Open Gambia platform. If you just bear me a minute, let me share this video and we can start the program. I'm having problem with this. Okay, Okay, thank you. The program will be brief, and it's going to be on accountability. Today is the 11th of July, 2022, and the time is just gone 35 minutes past 8 in the evening in Birmingham, England. And Eid Mubarak to all of you, and I hope we all had a beautiful one. Unfortunate, there will always be those that will be unfortunate to have a sorrowful one, and one of those is we lost our sister in Bakau, Fatou Kouyaté. We pray for her and for her soul to rest in peace, and we are sharing our condolences to the family and friends and people from Bakau and Gambia at far, and people in London. We move on to the program. The program is going to be based on accountability, and the reason for this program is to learn from other people, especially people that we look up to as a democratic nation or a developed nation, to see what differences are there that their democracy works, or what differences are there their country work better than us. Why are we termed underdeveloped? Why are we termed undemocratic? Why do we go into dictatorship? Why do we go into conflict? How comes we are not able to save ourselves from destruction? How comes we can save ourselves from going into open conflict? How comes we can save ourselves by developing our nations, to be countries that will be envied, that people will come in, or people want to live, especially us will want to live, not to live in, not to flee like in a war situation, as we have seen all over Africa, especially the West Africa, countries like the Gambia, Senegal, that did not experience a civil war in a sense, mainly, and we have seen the amount of youths fleeing the continent in order for greener pastures. And where are they coming to? They are coming to democratic nations. They are coming to nations that are developed. I would, before going further, I'll just ask people watching to share the video, because I'm having a problem to share it on my main page, and this platform is new. It will take time to generate viewers. But if you would be kind enough just to share the page so that it will get to the audience. The audience can follow, and if possible, tag me on my main page, so that people that follow me normally on my main page can follow this program. We are going to look at example. As I said, it's going to be brief. It's going to be a learning moment. I know in most cases we blame our people, and rightly so. We have to give blame, and we have to take responsibilities that our people. But one thing we do say, black people are this, black people are that, or our people, Gambians are this, or Senegalese are this, and that. But generally, one thing we fail to realize that we don't have much difference between us, the living in the developing world, and those living in developed world. Even when it comes to our leadership we have, it's not much different. If you look at the United Kingdom, if you look at America, I'll tell you, if you go to the politics, it's not the best that leads the country. But we have to ask ourselves then, how comes they do better than us? This is where the difference is. This is where the difference is. And mainly it's because of accountability. Mainly because of they have systems, they build systems, and they make sure those systems work. And the only way those systems work is they make sure people are accountable. Because there's no point building structures, frameworks, policy, and anything else, but you don't have any way of measuring it or any way of delivering it and making sure it has its impact. And to have proactive in holding the system accountable, that wherever it's about to falter or when it falters, you are there to repair it, and so that things can be sustainable and things can move. And I'm going to quote from read from an article I wrote a few days ago, and this article is actually in reaction to what have happened in the United Kingdom by removing Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister. And if we look at that example, and we look at the example of when Trump wanted to hold onto power, we will all agree that the way Trump, at times this is the reason why we say that Gambian underestimate how much we did in advocating, how much we did to fight Yahya Jammeh to the point of making him notorious to be seen for who he is. But again, not only that, for how much of crimes that Yahya Jammeh have committed. Blaise Compaoré have. He's been a dictator, but he was far better than Yahya. For the crimes, most of the crimes that Blaise Compaoré committed, in fact, he committed that with the international community. From the blessings of the international community, especially the colonial master France. And most of those crimes are, facilitating the war in West Africa. By sending troops in Libya, arms, using Burkina Faso as a base, using Burkina Faso to launder money and everything else. Those are crimes. These are horrible. Many hundreds have died. But what I'm saying is the crime directly that we who should be accountable on Burkina base are not equal to what the Yahya have done. Like witchcraft, let's go on. And again, Blaise was more sophisticated than Yahya. He might even be worse than Yahya, but he was sophisticated to understand how he committed his crimes and so on. And things he uttered out. You see? And all this have made Yahya a case of completely a different dynamics. But don't completely rule it out. I'm just giving an example there. Now, the failure of transition from Burkina Faso since they came to civilian rule, what did they do? Politicians did the same thing again. They went on just to enjoy the position of power. They did not do the reforms they needed for the armed forces. They did not do the economic reforms that will reflect down to the people, to empower the people. They haven't done anything to that matter. They just went on to empower themselves, to entrench themselves, and to fight politically. Nothing, no ideas, framework, chapters, programs to change things to make it better. And if this thing happens, your country is open to be destabilized. Your country is open to go into conflict. Corruption continue. No accountability. No systems place. And the reforms, institutions are not built. Country is not run on institutions. And the institutions that have made the country worse have not been reformed. The armed forces. Now the same armed forces decided, and remember most of these boys have been mentored by Blaise Compaoré and the lieutenants at the time. And now these are the same people that took over the country. Now they are going to go give Blaise what Blaise Compaoré wants. Is it going to be successful or what? Depends on what Burkinabés do. But again, what this tells you that the army is not there for the interests of the nation. The army is there for their interests, and they're going to entrench themselves, and they're going to transform themselves, and the country will continue to go backwards and continue to be in conflict. You see, the difference from other countries. In Europe, they had their wars, they have everything. What they decided to do, look, we have to move away from this. United Kingdom had from medieval times, they came into have a monarchy, landowners and everything. They said no, they looked at it, no, this is not going to work. Let's reform, let's adopt democracy. What democracy we adopt, we do this. Parliamentary representation, this is what we're going to have. Since they had their democracy, the democracy have evolved so many ways and these things to make it completely different. Political parties came under a system. You have force, you have the conservative. What it meant, people that conservative, you have then was the liberal. You have the liberal party, you have the conservative party, pulling apart, but mainly ideological. And the conservative, obviously, bankrolled by the landowners and people who are close to the monarch and so on. They moved on, but to the level that when the Social Democrats, which now became the Liberal Democrats, the Social Democrats realized that, look, this is not even feeding the people. This is not empowering the people. The system is still, for elites. People are not being represented. Yeah, there's a parliamentary base, people can elect, but it's not fit for purpose. Then they decided to go into politics, and these people were industrialists. People that have factories, people who are industrialists, decided that their politics have to go into politics and do it differently. These people already had a kind of a socialist kind of a background, and they were doing their business completely different. They were empowering their workers and so on, but it was not enough. They were just a small part of the economy. But poverty continued, and everything else. And what do they have? Systems. Then the workers, the unions. The unions that represented the workers realized that, look, we cannot effect change if we don't have political power. Now we have to form a political party that will have political party power to represent the people. That was called the Labour Party, which became kind of a socialist movement party. You see, systems were built. Accountability, then you build systems on them. And follow. But you don't build political party. I want to be a president, a political party. I want to be a president, a political party. I want to be a president. No, you build movements that people will own up to and based on ideology against, then you move on. We come to realize this now, it moved on. That's why we have our political parties here. Now we have major three parties, which is the Liberal Democrats, you have the Conservative, and you have the Labour. And as we said, accountability was hold on people. We see, given the example of Burkina Faso, where accountability is not happening, but again in the Gambia. Now, you wonder why corruption is, an epidemic now in the Gambia as it is. You remember why ruthlessness and everything else, because there's no accountability. People do what they want. Now we want to blame the small people. We want to blame the youths for behaving the way they behave. But everybody behaves that way from the top. No other sector, even people that we think that would be different with the religious leadership, we have seen their behavior. They don't have respect for each other. They address them, there's no system that they work on. Everything about it now is about getting up there and getting filthy rich and forget about everything else. And corruption continues. Nobody is punished for corruption. Nobody is punished for crime. And we have to think about this very critically. That's why what we're doing is not sustainable, and we are not doing enough to make sure, something is done. Let's look at the TRRC again. What was on the point of that? Just ask the Janneh Commission. What was the point of the Janneh Commission? What did we gain from it? Nothing, absolutely. What was taken from Yahya Jammeh is given to few people again. It did not go back to the people. The people from Bakau to Koina are suffering. They have not seen the proceeds. They have not seen anything that's been recovered from Jammeh. And did we hear anything about it again? No. The theft, what Jammeh was doing in corruption is gotten worse. It's gotten worse. Every trick in the book that Jammeh has applied has been done in tenfold now. By different people, in fact. What's the difference? What did we earn from that? Because there was no accountability. And this is what we are seeing in with the TRRC. After wasting all this money, time and efforts, the victims are suffering and we don't see any form of change. And if people have heard the Inspector General Police said it, they said why the people who went and break the law are not punished. And these are paramilitary officers. Or if you punish them, what happened the next time people don't obey the law? Orders. Because he is what want to say that these people now, he's going to leave these crooks within the forces so that they will obey illegal orders to continue. Then there's no reforms. And these people tell you, oh, we have done reforms, we are doing reforms. No. They are going to do the same thing. He said, everything he said, he represented, just tells us continuity. And we are not talking about the armed forces. We haven't seen any reforms. And if it comes to it, they're going to do the same thing. The NIA, we want them to hold on to power. We all agree that the way Trump is behaving, for everything that he did, and people around Trump, it was just like an African government. Just like an African government. Breaking laws, lying, cheating, everything else. And people supported based on tribal affiliations. We call them tribal. They are not only conservative. They know they are white supremacists. They believe in certain things, and even in their politics, we call that in a tribal sense of loyalty to the party, without the reasoning. And when they lost, again, another lessons we learn is the proactive, how proactive people would be in order to take part and make sure they have the change they want. People to participate to make sure, but that too will come with leadership that makes them that inspire them to do that. In this case, we've seen how the Democrats came out and inspired the people, and the people who came and vote for them, and they ensured that they won that elections. But now Trump wanted to change, and what happened? We have seen what happened to him, and we are hearing the congressional hearing. We can hear what came out of that. We're going to look at that. United Kingdom, Boris Johnson was not different from any African leader. I mean, the way he even came to power. You were surprised how come someone like Boris Johnson come to power in England with all this. No, they all know all that. People that put him there know all that. Tells you that they are not different from us. They can be selfish. They can be silly. They can do partisan politics, which you can call a tribal politics in a certain sense. Not to see national interest, but thinking that, no, we can manage this. But until it gets to the level, they realize it's not sustainable. And this person is not worth losing everything. Their even interest, personal interest, then looking into the greater interest that it's not worth that. What we have to do is we have to remove him. If we don't remove him, the next party is going to make sure they remove him. And if they remove him, we lose immediately and so on. Or if we allow this person to keep on going, this way it's not sustainable. The country is going to lose a lot. We are not going to do that. Now, that's where I said that if we observe, we will realize that we can know a lot about what have unfolded in Britain, parliamentary democracy, and what happened in America. And if you go by that making, now you think about it. What makes the difference? When we watch at the records of Boris Johnson, we can see exactly he was a mirror of Trump. And those behavior all, we say they had the traits of dictatorship. They are just awful as African dictators, a bad African leader, and the similarity of the crimes they commit and everything else. To even corruption, they were involved in it in a different way and manner, because the systems we have don't allow them to able to do certain kind of corruption. But whatever they can do by creating nepotism or creating situation where their friends and interest group will benefit from contracts and so on, they were doing that, and that was known and it was challenged. But they keep on defending themselves until it gets to a level that they have to do something about this. And we compare this and to what happens in Africa. If we look at what happened in Africa, let's say what happened in the Gambia, and Africa for that matter, we realize a big difference here. We nurtured the dictatorship because we allowed things to happen. Even people who are supporting the dictator or around the dictator supporting him will come to a point that they will realize that things are not sustainable. But because of stupidity or whatever you call it, they will keep and maintain the system until everything hell breaks loose. But there's an interesting part here. Why would they do that? Because of the lack of accountability. The systems in most cases are not robust enough to stop it happening. I mean, we don't build institutions, and where we have institutions, leaders will come in and break and dismantle those institutions, and we'll sit down and watch. We are not proactive to stop those leaders saying, look, you cannot do that, you cannot get away with that. We are not allowing you to do that. And the systems would not be there, or if they're there, I mean, it's no system. It's just disregarded, and people do whatever they want. We look at the case of, let's say, Trump. When Trump wanted what he wanted, these are the same people around him that did everything for him, supported him. But even to the extent of the vice president, The vice president wanted to do what Trump wanted. But when he thought about it, he seek advice and realized that if I do this, two things can happen. I can be persecuted for treason. Not only that, this can lead to a complete breakdown of the country and a big constitutional crisis. It was like a loophole existing. But people have worked within the system to extent that they are not looking at loopholes. They are looking at best practice. They are looking at the interest. What end of the day, look, this is the best practice. This is not a loophole issue here. We have to do it right. Or if we fail to do this, we will be held accountable. Accountability is important. Because of that accountability, the vice president will not do it, and people around him will not do it. Again, this independence of institutions, to the extent of Trump wanted to go to the riots, the Secret Service, who people would thought that they are subordinate, but when it comes to their work, they take leadership. When it comes to their work, they take leadership. It's their responsibility to make sure the president is safe. It's not the president's responsibility to make him safe. The president have just lost that and wanted to go to do something unsafe. It's their responsibility, and they stood firm and tell the president, you can't do this, we are not going to allow you to do that. And they enforce it, make sure the president did not go to the riots. Again, that's accountability. They are accountable to their job. Nothing will stop them from doing their job, regardless what the president wants. No, it's not yes, I said, no, sir, this is not right, you are not going to do that. It's not safe, our job here is to stop you, and we're going to take you to a safe place. You see that difference? But again, all the other people that Trump wanted for them to do something, realize that if we do this, we are going to pay for it. In the case of Africa, let's look at the case of Burkina Faso. The president, the military in Burkina Faso, the military government, decided after the civilian government that came and decided to, now, okay, we have to prosecute the former dictator, Blaise Compaoré, for crimes he committed by killing, overthrowing by killing Thomas Sankara and the guards and people associated with Thomas Sankara at that time. They decided to do this, and obviously, when they did that, he was found guilty and held responsible. That's it. But the implementation was not done. Now, this military government decided to come to say, oh, we are going to do reconciliation, we are going to let him free. You see, this is the reason that accountability don't happen, and what happens is people will do things or repeat to do things. That's why things don't work in our countries. Africa, systems break, precedents are created, bad precedents are created, and that's how it. Now, imagine in Burkina Faso, the person that they hold as a legend, that they see that was in the root of transforming their country. I mean, with all the credit they gave him, the recognition they gave him, this is the person that betrayed and killed him and everything. Now, a civilian government came and arranged and everything else. But one lesson again we learn. And Gambia, we have to open our eyes. Yes, there's a little bit of different dynamics here, but we have many things which are similar. Blaise Compaoré is likely to get away with it, because Blaise Compaoré is not actually demanded by the international community as Yahya Jammeh is. I know we'll do comparisons, but we have to note that certain things are not exactly the same. You know, at times this is the reason why we say that Gambians underestimate how much we did.